Friends Max and Jay, Max being 19 years old at the time and Jay 18, lived in a small village near a dense and impressive forest. One summer day, they gathered everything they needed and decided to take Max's car to dig a dugout deep in the forest to create a cozy retreat away from people and their problems. They drove for no more than 10 minutes and finally reached the serene-looking forest. They entered it, driving for about 15 minutes. However, at one point they noticed that the road was narrowing and dusk was gradually setting in. The road eventually became a narrow trail, but it didn't deter Max and Jay. They took all the necessary supplies and continued on foot. After walking about 2 kilometers, they finally found what they were looking for: a perfect clearing with soil suitable for their project. They grabbed their tools and began digging. As it was getting darker outside, they took a break, opened some soda, and had sandwiches that Jay prepared for the trip. After a short rest, they resumed their work. Suddenly, they heard a disturbing metallic sound as Max's shovel hit something. They quickly started digging around the source of the sound and discovered an old iron hatch. Although it was already dark outside, Max had brought 2 flashlights from home. Max tried to open the hatch, but it wouldn't budge. Together, they managed to open it with an unpleasant creak. Jay shone a flashlight inside, and to their surprise, they saw something resembling catacombs. The walls were covered with strange drawings that seemed ancient and mysterious. They decisively descended into the passage, shrouded in darkness and mystery. They shone the flashlights down the tunnel, but it was so long that the light couldn't reach the end. They decided to explore the tunnel further. After a few minutes of traveling through the tunnel, they suddenly heard strange sounds echoing from a distance. It sounded like rustling and whispers, as if calling them somewhere. Despite the feeling of danger, the friends decided not to stop and continued moving forward. The air became more humid and cooler as they progressed. The flashlight's light barely penetrated the darkness, creating a creepy atmosphere of mystery and fear. But their curiosity overcame the fear, and they kept moving forward. After a few minutes of traveling through the tunnel, they suddenly heard strange sounds echoing from a distance. It sounded like rustling and whispers, as if calling them somewhere. Despite the feeling of danger, the friends decided not to stop and continued moving forward. The air became more humid and cooler as they progressed. The flashlight's light barely penetrated the darkness, creating a creepy atmosphere of mystery and fear. But their curiosity overcame the fear, and they kept moving forward. After a while, they reached a small room where, in the dim light of the flashlight, they saw something horrible. On the floor, amidst rags and debris, sat a dark figure. Its face was disfigured, and its eyes gleamed in the darkness. Clad in rags, it looked like something out of their worst nightmares. Upon seeing them, it stirred, emitting a loud, hoarse wail that pierced the air. The friends recoiled in horror, wondering what this creature was and how it ended up there. However, they had no time for contemplation. The terrifying figure started approaching them, step by step, like a predator ready to strike. Abandoning the flashlight, Max and Jay turned and ran back through the tunnel without looking back. Their hearts pounded so loudly that it felt like they could burst out of their chests at any moment. They ran until they realized they had deviated from the path. Collapsing from exhaustion upon hearing no pursuit, they quickly regained their strength. However, within seconds, they heard a horrifying sound resembling a scream or roar, just about 100 meters away. Their bodies felt like they were pricked by hundreds of needles, and adrenaline surged. They mustered the strength to run as fast as possible. The scream, resembling a howl, rapidly approached them, and suddenly, about 80 meters away, they saw light. Along with the light, there was a creaking sound of a door. Their hearts sank, but with the door's creak, a male voice shouted, "Come here." Reaching the door and quickly entering, they saw a man who appeared to be around 50. He swiftly closed the door behind them and ordered them to sit quietly. Suddenly, Jay's dust allergy manifested, and he sneezed. A terrifying banging against the door ensued, accompanied by a wail. It seemed as though the creature was about to break the door off its hinges, but the door was exceptionally sturdy, entirely made of metal. With time, the banging ceased, and fast footsteps were heard. After everything quieted down, the man introduced himself as Jacob. He poured herbal tea for the friends and began to tell them the next part of the story. Earlier, there were simple catacombs here, and we as friends loved to scare ourselves as teenagers. We started by exploring abandoned buildings, and then a guy named William showed us maps of these catacombs built by the government. We, as a group, decided to go there and explore these eerie places. The problem was that we got separated. I successfully made it outside, but my friends didn't. A year after that incident, my house burned down. Left with no choice, I came back here to live. Until I decided to thoroughly explore these places. As you understand, I encountered that terrifying creature chasing you. Since then, I've been living here and rarely venture out, fearing to encounter that creature again. Max and Jay were astonished by his story and asked if there was a safe way to leave this place. Jacob replied affirmatively, mentioning a passage behind the door leading to a staircase that goes outside. They thanked him for everything and climbed out through the hatch. They emerged on the road they took into the woods, and as it was already morning, they got into the car and headed home.